I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Ha, Rakah, Kodash, double honors unto our apostle elders, which rule great millstone, wow, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure unto the end. Shalom, wa, abal, babal. So this is just a nail in Esau's coffin. Esau being the so-called white man, the red devil the Bible speaks of. Because under his watch, all right, less people know about the Bible. And I'm talking about the Israelites, but really the whole world is supposed to know, all right, the Bible stories and who are the Israelites, which not even the Israelites knew who they were, right? They were calling us Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, which we've been scattered throughout the world in slavery. Now, last night before I went to bed, this came into my mind. Are young people learning the Bible? Because when I was younger, I had to go to like a class. I remember that when I was younger, it was almost like an extra class. Even in the school, they would teach you certain things in the Bible. When I was younger, it says AI overview, which I put. Young people are not learning the Bible like prior generations. And it says AI overview, which it pulled up over 11 resources. It says, yes, research suggests that younger generations, particularly millennials and Gen Z, are engaging with the Bible less frequently and have less biblical literacy compared to previous generations, which proves we're in the last generation. All right, this is a godless generation, and there's only a remnant of Israelites that are going to be saved out of it. All right, it tells you in 2nd Ezra 8:1, it says, and he answered me, the angel bringing Ezra's the vision in Babylon under the Persians, saying, the Most High had made this world for many, which there's many people, there's billions of people right now, but the world to come for few. All right, verse 3, there be many created, but few shall be saved, because salvation is only for the Israelites. All right, so only a few Israelites in America will be saved. The 2/3 will be destroyed. The 1/3 will be saved that are in America. And as well as even the heathen, all right, the heathen have no promise of salvation, but it tells you in, I just use this Bible app, Revelation 18, that they're going to be in, not 18, 6, it's Revelation 6. Revelation 6, all right, when the judgment comes, which is going to be the nuclear destruction of America, that the other nations, they're going to be hiding in these rocks, all right? It says in Revelation 6:13, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, which are nuclear missiles, as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, which are unexpected, when she is shaken of a mighty wind, which I just had that go through. We've been having lots of storms that have tornadoes, so real powerful wind. When you go outside, you don't expect it, but it's covered with all the stuff that, fell out of the trees. So that's how it's coming. It's coming as a thief in the night, when she is shaken of a mighty wind, and the heaven departed as a scroll. And why is it going to come like a thief in the night? They're not expecting it, right? They're godless. This is a godless generation. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places, which is going to be a great earthquake from the nuclear destruction of America. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb, because Yahweh is going to send his son, Yahushai, with the host of heaven, and they're coming from heaven to judge the world. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? And nobody will be able to stand. That's why Yahushai is going to gather up the elect so that this judgment could be merciless. All right? But it tells you in Hosea 4:1, it says, Hear the word of Yahweh, ye sons of Israel, for Yahweh hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge, nor knowledge of God in the land. Right? They have no knowledge of the Bible at all. Right? I just showed you that in that picture. Yes, research suggests that younger generations, particularly millennials and Gen Z, are engaging with the Bible less frequently and have less biblical literacy compared to previous generations. This trend is marked by a decline in individuals holding a biblical worldview and a shift towards a new morality, satanic. While some young people still find value in the Bible, like the Israelites that prophesy, the overall trend indicates a decline in both personal and societal, right, with the Bible, all right, which this was supposed to be a Christian nation, right, but obviously they're operating satanically and not by the Bible, because Esau Edom, the so-called white man, the red devil the Bible speaks of, is satanic, all right? So let me go ahead and grab this verse here. It says in Acts 2, verse 37, it says, Now when they heard this, they were pricked in their heart, and said unto Peter and to the rest of the apostles, Men and brethren, what shall we do? Because they were talking about Yahushua being crucified and resurrected. Then Peter said unto them, Repent and be baptized, every one of you, talking to these Israelites, in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, which is not Jesus Christ, it's Yahushua, and the title is HaMashiach, the Messiah, for the remission of sins, because we are reconciled back to our power through Yahushua's sacrifice, and we have remission of sins, all right? Because we sinned, we've been exiled, but now we have remission of sins through Yahushua's sacrifice. And ye shall receive the gift of the Holy Spirit, which we have. That's why we're prophesying. For the promise is unto you and to your children, and to all that are afar off, even as many as the Lord our power shall call, which he calls them through the word by the prophets. And with many other words did he testify and exhort, saying, Save yourselves from this untoward generation. So translation comparison. And now then Peter continued preaching for a long time, strongly urging all his listeners, save yourselves from this crooked generation. And that's what we're saying today. We're in that spirit of Peter, all right? And we're preaching Yahushua, and we're telling the Israelites, the ones that will listen, save yourselves from this crooked generation and cleave unto Yahweh Bahasham Yahushua, which it tells you that the ones that are going to be saved are going to cleave. Isaiah 14:1, for Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land, and the strangers, which are Israelite foreigners, shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. So even though they may look like a so-called Caucasian or any other nation, but they're able to cleave to the house of Jacob, it shows that they're an Israelite. All right. The Israelites are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, which have been scattered throughout the world in slavery. All right. Let's see. Judah, the so-called Negro, Benjamin, the so-called West Indian, Levi, the so-called Haitian, which make up the southern kingdom, Simeon, the so-called Dominicans, Zebulun, the so-called Guatemalans to the so-called Panamanians, Ephraim, the so-called Puerto Ricans, Manasseh, the so-called Cubans, Gad, the so-called North American Indians, Reuben, the so-called Seminole Indians, Naphtali, the so-called Argentinians to the so-called Chileans, Asher, the so-called Colombians to the so-called Uruguayans, Issachar, the so-called Mexicans. Now, if you don't see yourself on this list, but you believe in the Bible, you're the strangers that shall cleave to the house of Jacob. All right? But we've been scattered throughout the world in slavery. And then I had another verse I wanted to get, which was Isaiah 3. It says, and 8, for Jerusalem is ruined, which Jerusalem represents the northern kingdom, and Judah, representing the southern kingdom, is fallen. And it's because we sinned. Because their tongue and their doings are against Yahweh, which they wanted to serve false gods and be like the heathen, to provoke the eyes of his glory. The show of their countenance doth witness against them, and they declare their sin as Sodom, which now most of these Jake are caught up in the homo culture. They said it, they hide it not, meaning they're proud. Woe unto their soul. And woe, it pretty much means destruction unto their soul, because they're going to be in a lake of fire. America's going to be destroyed with destroyed with nuclear missiles, turning it into a lake of fire. For they have rewarded evil unto themselves. Your blood shall be upon your own heads. Say ye to the righteous, the prophets, that it shall be well with him, for he's going to avenge us. Revelation 18, 20, and 21. For they shall eat the fruit of their doings. Woe, meaning destruction unto the wicked. It shall be ill with him, for the reward of his hand shall be given him. Right? Instead of being in the Bible, they're in fucking what do they call it? Trap houses. They're in colleges being defiled. It says, as for my people, children are their oppressors, which it means people that are childlike. These Edomites, these so-called Caucasians, they're fools. And women rule over them, which they set the woman up. I'll give you an example.
In the United States of America. There's no place in the United States of America under President Donald Trump. In the United States of America under President Donald Trump. Hatred has no place in the United States of America under President Donald Trump. Hatred has no place in the United States of America.
I think anybody that didn't support it as a Republican, I would consider to be a fool. It's a great bill. It's a great bill for America. I think anybody that didn't support it as a Republican, I would consider to be a fool. It's a great bill. It's a great bill for America.
So as you saw this woman, right, which speaks for Trump in the United States, she said there's no place for hatred in America. But then she shows hatred to that so-called Negro, which is a police or military of the United States. And he's there to protect him, but she don't want him standing next to her because he's a so-called black man and she's a so-called white woman, which they're not white. As you can see, the collars of these men, Trump and this other man here on the right hand of him, which is on the left side of the screen, they are red. They are not white. All right, you can see the collar of their shirts, right? Their collar is white, but their skin is red, different shades of red. All right, so they're not white people. All right, and the so-called American Negro is not black, as you can see this man
I
here.
think anybody that didn't support him as a Republican.
See how he stands right there with that black uniform on? His skin don't blend in with the black uniform because he's not black. He's dark brown. The so-called white is a lie, and the so-called black is a lie. All right, there's nations on the earth. The so-called white race are the Edomites, which the Lord hates, and he's going to destroy them when he comes back. The Israelite is the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian, which been put here in slavery because we sinned against our power. Now, the generation now doesn't know the Bible like before because of these people. All right, watch the movie Nat Turner when they didn't let him read the Bible. All right, so I'm going to say fair use, fair use. I'm only using this for information so I can make comments and educate my people. I'm not making any money off of this, so I'm only going to share the information that is in this video. I'm not making any profit out of this material. I'm just using it for commenting and education and reporting what is true.
These books are for white folks. They're full of things your kind wouldn't understand.
And why didn't they want you to read it? Because it would tell you this, that the Lord was against the devil, the so-called white man. In Romans 9, verse 13, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. See? And they didn't want you to know that. Who's Esau? It's the so-called white man, the red devil. That's why his name is Aishawa, meaning wasted away. He looks like a dead person. See? When you see her color compared to that little boy's color, she looks dead. She looks like a corpse. All right? And her forefather Esau was born looking all red like a premature baby. He was pretty much a premature baby, all red and small. And Jacob, the twin brother, came out dark, all right, and bigger and stronger, all right? And it tells you the prophecies in Romans 9, verse 10, and not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac, for the sons Esau and Jacob, the so-called white man's forefather and the Israelites' forefather Jacob, being not yet born, having done any good or evil, that the purpose of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahushai, according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth. And we're being called by the prophecy. It was said unto her, the elders shall serve the younger, which the elder was Esau. So the Edomite has to go into slavery under the Israelite, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with Yahweh or Yahushai? The Elohim forbid. No, it's exactly as it's written. The wicked are doing wickedly, and the Lord's coming back to destroy the wicked and them that do wickedly. Malachi 4 verse 1, for behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, nuclear destruction of America, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly. The proud is the so-called white race. You saw how proud that woman was. She didn't want that man to stand next to her. Right?
I would consider it to be a fool. It's a great bill. It's a great bill for America, more importantly.
See?
I think anybody
She's like, do you see this nigga? What the fuck's this nigga doing next to me?
that didn't support him as a Republican, I would
And he literally has to hide himself. He has to go into the shadows to hide. Why? Because he's nothing more than a slave.
consider it to be a fool. It's a great bill. It's a great bill for America.
And then look at the eyes she gave. That's pride. Look at the pride. The pride of Trump. The big, beautiful bill, which is what? Destroying everybody's, dependence on this system. Right? So it says, and all the proud, and all that do wickedly. You got 2/3 of the Israelites in America that do wickedly. That man that's guarding him, this guy here.
I think anybody that didn't support him as a Republican.
This man guarding him is wicked. Eventually, they're going to tell him he has to have an implantable microchip to keep his job, which he's going to do, right? Because I'm pretty sure he lives off of his check, right? And he got a little status being up there with the president and all that. But that implantable microchip is going to condemn the unbelieving Israelite to destruction with the Edomite. It's his judgment. But because you want to wear that badge, you want to get a paycheck from this devil, you want the dead presidents, right? You're going to have to take that implantable microchip because they're going to get rid of the dead president, the dollar, and give you a digital currency. All right? It says, shall be stubble, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith Yahweh of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. Nothing will be left here. America will be turned into a desert, a complete desert. Nobody will be preserved here. Like they have bunkers here in America, right? But they're going to be destroyed because 200 million nuclear missiles are going to devour the flesh of America. It says, but unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings. And ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. And ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet. In the day that I do this, in the day that I shall do this, saith Yahweh of hosts, remember ye the law of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel, with the statutes and judgments. So are they going to remember them? No, I just read to you. The majority of this generation does not know the Bible. I'm going to get that last point and then I'll close out. All right? It said in here, it says, yes, research suggests that younger generations, particularly millennials and Gen Z, are engaging with the Bible less frequently and have less biblical literacy compared to previous generations. This trend is marked by a decline in individuals holding a biblical worldview and a shift towards new morality, satanic worship, right? Do as thou will, right? That's what the so-called white man pushes. He pushes witchcraft. He pushes do as thou will. While some young people still find value in the Bible, like the prophets of Israel, the overall trend indicates a decline in both personal and societal use of the Bible. So this is a godless generation that is ready for the destruction. Shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure unto the end. Shalom wa abababal.